Yani daha önce
Direnişin medyası Çapul TV olarak direnişin tam içerisindeyiz bu akşam. Hacettepe Üniversitesi'ndeyiz.
İyi akşamlar Çapul TV izleyicileri. Bugün yabancı bir konuğumuzla birlikteyiz. Sharat Lİn ABD'den geldi. Hint kökenli akademisyen, film yapımcısı, film yönetmeni. İstanbul'da İşçi Filmleri Festivali'nin bu yıl 9.'sı düzenleniyor. Biliyorsunuz İstanbul, Ankara, İzmir ve Diyarbakır 4 merkezde başlayacak. Şu an yanımızda Sharat. İstanbul'dan sonra Diyarbakır'a da gidecek. Festivalin açılış etkinliklerinde yer alacak. Dev Uyanıyor diye bir filmi de var. Birazdan onun üzerine konuşacağız. Yalnız konuşmamız İngilizce olacak. Bundan sonra kayıtlarda Türkçe altyazı da ekleyeceğiz. Simultane çeviri yapamadığımız için özür dileriz. Ancak bu sefer mazur görün diyelim. Bugün neler vardı? Çok kısaca çapulcuların gündeminden bir özet geçtikten sonra Sharat'la söyleşimize başlayacağız. Bugün 1 Mayıs Komitesi, DİSK, KESK, TTB ve TMMOB önce Taksim'de ardından Şişhane'de 1 Mayıs 1977 ve 1 Mayıs 1989'da yaşamını yitiren işçilerin, devrimcilerin anısına karanfil bıraktı. Onları andı. Taksim mücadelesinde yaşamını yitirmiş olanları bir kez daha andı ve Taksim'de olacağını, AKP'nin yasaklama girişimlerine karşı Taksim'e çıkacaklarını bir kez daha vurguladı. Yine Kadıköy'de de bir anma vardı. Bugün polisten herhangi bir saldırı vesaire görmedik. Hani bu kadar gerilimin ortasında biraz şaşırtıcıydı ama emekçiler sloganlarıyla, karanfilleriyle Taksim'de, İstiklal'de, Şişhane'de Taksim şiarını bir kez daha haykırmış oldular. Bariyerler kurmakla meşgul İstanbul Emniyeti de dün Hüseyin Avni Mutlu CNN Türkiye çıkmıştı. Orada gezi sürecini iyi yönetemediklerini söylemişti. Bu süreci de iyi yönetemiyorlar. Yine şiddetle engellemeye çalışıyorlar ama bakacağız 1 Mayıs'a birkaç gün kaldı. Artık göreceğiz. Çapul TV'de 1 Mayıs'ta alanlarda olacak. Alanlar Çapul TV'de olacak. Sizleri de eğer elinizdeki videolarla, mobil cihazlarla bu yayına katılabilirseniz hep birlikte yürütelim diyoruz. Bu yüzden de elinizdeki eğer videoları göndermek istiyorsanız 1 Mayıs öncesinde ve 1 Mayıs günde muhabir.vtransfer.com'a ulaşabilirsiniz ya da gönüllü katkı sunmak istiyorsanız iletişim@Çapul TV'den bizimle bağlantıya geçebilirsiniz. Konumuzu çok bekletmeyelim. Şimdi muhabbeti İngilizceye çevireceğiz. Welcome Sharat.
Well, thank you for having me on Çapul TV.
And I told something to our the Çapulers. I talked about your film, The Awakening of the Giant. And who is Giant?
Well, first of all, the film is not by me. It is actually the director, Adrian Tepua Vargas, and I just contributed some parts to the film. But the giant, or as it says in the film, El Gigante in Spanish, is of course the movement, is this giant movement of immigrant workers who rose up in 2006, and it was quite unexpected that the movement would be so large. That in fact on May 1st May 2006, something like 4 million immigrant workers throughout the United States went and marched in the streets for May Day. It was a rebirth.
4 million.
About 4 million in many different cities.
How many immigrant people live in USA?
Well, that's hard to say, but the number of at that time there were about 12 million undocumented immigrants.
Undocumented.
And then of course, many millions of documented immigrants. So the number, easily is 20 million or more. and of course they have families, and many of their family members are citizens. So there are, you know, many tens of millions of people who are affected by the immigration system in the United States.
And now we know that in Europe and wealthy countries have a question, immigration question. They say that it's a question for us. But I remember Evo Morales said that hundreds of years ago you were poor and you migrated to Latin America, our country, and we shared our wealth. Now we are poor and the wealth is in your country, so you can't ban us to visit you and work in your countries. So what do you think about that speech, and what can be done by the poor countries and for undocumented people? Because we can say that it's just their problem, just the problem of undocumented migrants in wealthy countries.
That's very true, because one has to look at it historically and see that the people of Latin America, I mean, of course, undocumented immigrants in the United States are not just Latin Americans. They are also, you know, people from other countries, especially Philippines, China, India, who have come to the United States legally and have overstayed their visas. And once they overstay their visas, then they become undocumented. And so it's an issue that affects immigrants from all over the world. And in fact, maybe somewhere between 30 and 40% of those immigrants are not only from Mexico, but from South America and from Asia and Africa, all over the world. And the issue is not just a question of rich and poor countries, because in Latin America, what people think in, for example, Mexico and Central America, is that the native peoples have traveled, have migrated north and south throughout, you know, for thousands of years. And it's only in the post-colonial period that borders have been created. And so these borders, what has happened is that these borders have crossed the native peoples of the Americas. Now the problem of migration in the magnitude that we see today, where we have so many migrants to the U.S. coming from Central America and Mexico in particular, is mainly after 1994, because in 1994 the U.S., Mexico, and Canada joined together in a trade agreement called NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement.
Yeah.
And this reduced the trade barriers, but it also resulted in the dumping of low-cost American or U.S. Goods and particularly foods into the Mexican market. And the most notable of those is corn, because the U.S. is the world's largest producer of corn, and it is genetically modified corn that is subsidized. It was dumped into the Mexican market, and Mexican farmers make their money primarily by selling corn, native corn. And those Mexican farmers were thrown out of work, and they had no choice but to migrate to the United States to support their families. And so the economic problem is not just a difference between the wealthy U.S. and a poorer Mexico, but also because of these free trade agreements.
Free trade or neocolonialism?
It's a neocolonial policy that is, you know, free trade agreements work between countries that are structurally similar, like the United States and Canada, or between the United States and Western Europe, but they don't work between a developed country like the United States and Central America or Mexico.
And also the uprising of Zapatistas was against NAFTA.
Partly, but also, you know, against the emerging capitalism in Mexico. Yes.
And yes, we can turn to the movement, the migrant workers movement. There is another problem all over the world. There are migrants in many countries, also in Turkey, from Caucasus and Middle East countries. But the unions reject to organize these workers. There are millions of workers doing most of the hard works in countries, in Iraq, in Kurdistan, in Lebanon, in USA, in Canada, in France, in Turkey.
Right.
But the unions, most of the unions don't want to organize these people because they say that these are undocumented. And some say that I'm not able to organize my citizens. How can I organize the undocumented people? What's the situation in USA? Are there attempts to organize these workers in unions?
Yes. So it's a very good question, because historically the trade unions in the United States have been similar. They did not want to organize the undocumented workers, and the reason for that is because the trade unions thought that the undocumented workers were willing to work at below the legal wage, and so they would push down the value of labor. And even one of the movements that was the movement of farm workers, when it was originally founded by Cesar Chavez, that union, even though it was organizing primarily immigrant workers of from Mexico and from Central America, at first they opposed organizing undocumented workers because of the wage difference, and they thought that they actually was partly because the farmers were using undocumented workers to break strikes. They were using them as scabs to break the strikes of the organized farm workers. But that has changed. So now, you know, most of the unions in recent years have come around to recognize that the goal is not to exclude undocumented workers, but rather to include them in the movement, to demand equal wages, equal rights for all workers. And so that is really the basis of this movement that was started in 2006 and has gained strength with each May Day, and with, you know, organizing of more service workers, because in the U.S. industrialization has declined, so there are fewer industrial workers, but there are many more service workers now.
Service workers, yeah.
And
the factories
have closed. They have shifted
yeah.
to Southeast Asia, to China, to India, and so now the problem is more universal, one of how do we demand the rights of service workers, who traditionally earn lower wages than industrial workers, and so that is where I think the movement is in a way it's a good thing, because then the movement is bringing all these workers, undocumented and documented, together, and saying that all of these workers need rights. They have a right to organize, to be represented by unions, and to enter collective bargaining contracts.
And so after 2007 and 8, after the financial crisis,
yes,
as the unemployment rates increase, we witnessed that the xenophobia and the attacks against undocumented or foreigner workers increased to the extreme right lines also in Europe, in the other countries. So in many Western countries have unemployment rates between 10 and 20, especially in youth unemployment. It's more. What is the situation in USA and Canada and other countries against undocumented people because the movement started in 2006, but after 2 years with the crisis there are some negative tendencies within the working class. Is there a risk about that you see?
Well, one of the effects of that is that there has been there was hope that there would be immigration reform, because the U.S. immigration system is broken. Because first of all, the economy needs these workers, and I mean, despite the recession of 2008, the economy is still hiring. After the recession, it is hiring service workers and businesses, farmers. They need the undocumented workers. And so what happened is that the unemployment went up in 2008, 2009, but and what happened is that there was a reaction, a right-wing reaction. We see in several states like Georgia, in Arizona, in Florida, there are states which passed laws against immigrants, and one of the most famous is State Bill, or SB 1070, that is SB 1070, was passed in Arizona, which was very anti-immigrant, and it resulted in the Arizona police arresting many immigrants just because of how they look, and so
due to their
appearance, their color of their skin, and so this is one of those right-wing reactions to the number of undocumented immigrants and also unemployment. But since then, there have been movements that have successfully resisted these efforts, and the main problem now is that because of this right reaction, there is not we have lost the momentum for immigration reform. But I should point out that the movement for immigration reform, and this is reflected in the film, is you see, for example, symbols of the immigration reform movement includes the American flag.
Yes, the lots of flags. I watched it, and they are carrying American flag.
And the reason for those American flags is not that these immigrants are necessarily. It doesn't mean that they are pro-government, okay? Because the flag does not represent the government, but what they see is that the flag represents the country that they want to be a part of.
Yes.
They say that in order to stay and work in the United States, they must become United States citizens. So that's their goal, is to be included as United States citizens, and that's why they carry the flag.
In the beginning of the film,
yes,
we all. At first, I couldn't understand. It says it's May Day. In May Days, in Turkey, it's a shame to carry the national flag. The national, because it's an international day, the International Solidarity and Struggle Day of Working Class.
Yes.
But when I saw at first the people carrying American flag, US flag, but they are immigrants, migrant workers. Yes, and now what do you hope about the moment in the next years? Will we see a more progressive working class struggle, working class movement in USA with alliance of the different segments of working class with the migrant workers?
Well, that's what we hope. We are seeing the migrant workers being united based upon their being members of the working class. But the present movement, of course, is a mixture of many things. It represents many things, and one aspect of it right now that still dominates is the demand for immigration reform to stop the deportations. See, under President Obama, there have been 2 million deportations of undocumented immigrants, and by the end of Obama's second term, that is after 8 years, Obama will have deported almost as many immigrants as all the previous United States presidents put together. So this is a serious problem because deportations break families.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that you may have a mother, a father, and children, and maybe the father is undocumented, so that the father is deported, but it leaves the children without a father. So this is a terrible thing that is happening. And so one of the main demands of the movement right now is to stop the deportations, not one more deportation. And once that is achieved, then this movement has momentum, and it will go on to focus more on issues of the working class and minimum wages and just the universal rights of workers. That is the future.
And I want to ask something about the new social movements as the Occupy movements. Before Gezi, we witnessed it in Occupy Wall Street. Maybe it was symbolic, just a symbolic moment, but it was important. These working class struggles, are these have ties with these Occupy movements or new social movements? Are they have ties?
Well, there are ties. There are ties, of course, because all of these movements, whether it's Occupy Wall Street or immigrant rights, are saying that the system as it is does not work. It doesn't work properly, and so change. There's radical change that is needed. But like in Turkey, in the United States, the people's movements are very fragmented. So there are many different organizations, and they work together sometimes, other times maybe not. Maybe they don't work together. But so the alternative to the system, the alternatives to the capitalist system are varied and diverse, and that's why we will see many tendencies. And there are many efforts, such as the U.S. Social Forum, which is a part of the World Social Forum, that bring all of these movements together. So.
But you discuss, but.
But yeah. But that is the state of it right now. I wish it were more unified, but it is a process. It's a political process that will take a long time.
Yes, and if you don't have more words about the movement, I want to ask something about documentaries and the films as an alternative media. Okay, we can pass to.
Yes. Yeah. So definitely, film is a very integral part of alternative media. I mean, films, of course, span everything from reformist film to radical alternatives, and film is a very powerful medium. We can hand out flyers and literature to people all we want, but I think film is very powerful because many people who don't read will come and see a documentary film or even a feature film that has social content, and they will be moved by the presentation of that social content, in film, and that's what makes it so powerful. It comes alive.
I know two examples, one from Turkey and one from South Korea. In Turkey, the miners and ex-militant miners trade union, the unionists show just one film, Mine, in villages that the miners live, to tell them, to teach them about union, the yellow union, the struggle and the risks of the struggle, working class struggle. So just one film, and they showed it in tens of villages, and they said that we couldn't do this education program with a book, with the brochures, etc. It's from Turkey. And another example from South Korea, the illegal organization of workers, they use just CDs to to connect and to share their experiments. So just they said I did this in that workplace. It was successful or unsuccessful, etc., etc. Do you have any examples like that in USA? How do you use your film or other films with working class?
I'm with the San Jose Peace and Justice Center, and so we and many of our partner organizations use film to bring people to programs. So we show a lot of films. Every week we show several films, as well as have talks. And there's no doubt that we attract audiences because of these films. And one of the wonderful things about today is that, you know, when I first became politically aware, this is 30, 40 years ago, we had a very limited number of progressive documentary films from around the world. And you could make a catalog, make one thin catalog of all the films, the documentary films that were available to us 40 years ago. Today there are thousands of documentary films and videos, and just because, you know, it's so much easier to make a documentary film with video than it was to make it with 16mm film, and so there is an explosion of documentary and progressive film today. And this is being used in, I mean, I also worked politically in India and in Egypt, and in both places there are efforts to take video into villages or take them into poor neighborhoods, and you just take a small, like a battery operated projector and project it on a wall. You have just a street film showing, and that is being used to politicize people, to provide some kind of political education, and to create discussions in the streets.
Yes, and in the Labor Fest, you are one of the guests of the 9th Labor Fest of Turkey. What do you think about Labor Fest and in Turkey? And I know that there is a Labor Fest in USA too. What do you think about this organization?
Well, I think it's wonderful to have Labor Fest. I mean, in the United States we have in the San Francisco Bay Area, that is in state of California, we have a Labor Fest. So every July, the whole month of July is almost daily activities about labor, and so it helps to educate people about the history of the labor struggle, and also about current issues of labor from around the world. And so it's a wonderful opportunity to bring people together to learn about labor issues and to keep the issues of labor and labor organizing alive. And so I think that is the same thing here in Turkey, but maybe it is bigger here in Turkey, and it is in many cities. And so I think that's a wonderful thing.
Okay, and my last question is about May Day of Turkey. And two questions, but one question. What will you do in May Day? And could you understand our government? So they are banning May Day for years. Sometimes they open Taksim Square and sometimes they close Taksim Square. As a foreigner, what do you see as a US citizen? What are they doing? What do you think about our government?
Well, I don't know enough, but obviously it's anti-labor. So obviously the government is afraid of the labor movement. They're afraid that the labor movement can organize to become a formidable opposition to the present government and to any kind of centrist or right leaning government in Turkey. It's the same thing in the United States. I mean, remember that May Day was born in the United States in 1886 in Chicago, and the United States is one of the very few industrialized countries in the world that does not officially celebrate May Day. May Day is not a holiday in the United States.
Yes.
The U.S. government created something called Labor Day in September as an alternative to divert the attention of workers from May Day. And so only in 2006, this workers' movement decided that they were going to hold this nationwide march on 1 May. And that is how May Day was reborn in the United States.
Years ago, when it wasn't holiday in Turkey, you know, for the last few years, it's officially holiday and May Day and Labor Day. Erdogan was telling something about, look at USA, look at European countries. They don't have holiday in May Day, but the working class defeated. He has a defeat about May Day. And the last message, what do you want to say, your last sentences about the working class struggle and your message to the people watching us?
Well, I'm seeing in Turkey, and I'm delighted to see that there are so many, that there's so much support for May Day, that there are hundreds of organizations that are supporting the workers coming out and celebrating May Day. And I just wish that we would do the same thing in the United States, and that it will, that the working class struggle will continue to develop in Turkey and as around the world.
Thanks, and let me close the program. Evet, simultane çevresiz aklımıza sığınarak İngilizce yaptık bu programı. Sharat'ta aslında ben de aslında biraz şaşırarak tekrardan hatırlamış oldum. Amerika'da da Tayyip Erdoğan kafalı insanlar var ve Amerika'da 1 Mayıs resmi olarak tatil günü değil, aslında emek günü, emek işçi gününü, işçi bayramını Eylül'de yapmak istemişler, ayırmak için, 1 Mayıs'tan ayırmak için, ki Amerika neresi? Amerika 1 Mayıs'ın doğduğu, yani Chicago'da, ki o 1886'da 1 Mayıs'ın kutlandığı, 1 Mayıs'ın doğduğu ülke olmasına rağmen böylesi bir şey var. Tayyip Erdoğan'a kötü örnek olan memleketlerden biri Amerika. Sharat oradan geldi, bize göçmen işçilerin koşulların mücadelesini anlattı. Göçmen işçilerin mücadelesinin yoksul ülkelerle zengin ülkeler arasındaki bir mesele olduğu gibi aslında bir yeni sömürgecilik meselesi olduğunu anlattı. Onların örgütlenmesinin işçi sınıfı mücadelesi açısından önemini anlattı. Yeni toplumsal hareketlerle bu göçmen işçilerin bağlara sahip olduğunu henüz çok güçlü olmasa da sosyal forumlarda, çeşitli yan yana geliş, eylem birliklerinde yan yana geldiklerini anlattı. Türkiye'den de İşçi Filmleri Festivali'nden bir alternatif medya olarak İşçi Filmleri Festivali'nden belki bizi kırmamak için olumlu sözlerle bahsetti. Etkileyici olduğunu söyledi. 1 Mayıs'ta da bu kadar geniş kesimlerce sahiplenilmesinin kendisini heyecanlandırdığını ve Amerika'da da umarız böyle şeyler olur diye kendisine bunu hissettirdiğini söyledi. Sharat'a teşekkür ederim. Thanks Sharat. Bu akşamlık kapatıyoruz. O da teşekkür etti bize. Bu akşamlık kapatıyoruz. İyi akşamlar. Şimdi programın ardından, Çapulcu Bülten'in ardından Dev Uyanıyor az önce konuştuğumuz bu işçi sınıfı belgesel filmini izleyeceksiniz. Göçmen işçilerin sorunlarını izleyeceksiniz. Görüşmek üzere. Hoşça kalın.